Hello and welcome to the Critically Curious. I'm the Monk, and today we are in Mountain Blade Bannerlords. Now, this video is a Did You Know video. It is a tips video, and I'm going to be shedding some light on a few of the mechanics within the game, a few of the things that I think it's important to highlight. As many of you know, both being new players or, veterans of this game, it doesn't really hold your hand and tell you everything that you need to know. It's also currently in development, especially on console. It's changed quite a bit actually since it's live on console, and of course we do have another patch and another update coming out soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. So things are going to be changing even more. The whole aim of this video is to share a little bit of information with you guys. Hopefully you learn something by the end of it. If you do, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We also have an active and growing Discord, so if you want a place to kind of share your stories, or perhaps you just want some help, the link will be down in the description. Feel free to join and say hi. Now, this video is for both beginners and veterans of the game, so you're going to find a bit of mixed information here. Hopefully some of it helps you. Let me know down in the comments your favorite tip or thing that I spoke about within this video. Now, I'm also a member of the fan group over on Facebook. Now, one of the things that I have seen posted there a few times is actually what the maximum character level is. Now, the truth is technically level 100 would be the max character level. In all honesty though, it's going to be extremely unlikely for you to acquire that level for various different reasons. I have playthroughs currently active at around 500 days, 700 days, 2500 days, and my character level doesn't really vary a huge amount from that. You are looking anywhere from level 25 to 35 within those 3 or 4 different playthroughs, and considering the amount of time difference there, it kind of opens your eyes into understanding that you level in this game incredibly slowly. This is a slow build up game. It's designed to be played that way. You can't rush your levels no matter how much you try, and end game you are probably looking at around achieving level 40 if you are lucky. Now, that's not to say you can't go above that. You certainly can, especially if you put in the effort, but it is going to be something you're going to have to grind out. That being said, we should also talk about our character skills, for instance, smithing. Now, the max level you can get in any one thing is 330. In theory. In order to achieve that, you're going to need 10 attribute points. You're going to need 5 focal points. Although to achieve actually, hitting level 300, you probably only need those 8 attribute points, but you will still need the 5 focal points. And I shed light on this because, of course, you only acquire 1 attribute point every 4 levels you progress. So, in other words, you're going to need an awful lot of levels to progress, many different things. So, when it comes to trying to pinpoint what you want your character to actually achieve within your run, it really is a good idea to focus down, because you're only going to be maxing out, say, 4 or 5 of these key skills at most. Now, another tip is going to be for early game, extremely early game. It's one I've shared in many videos as well as my Let's Plays as well. But that is money. Money is extremely important. Having a good start within this game is also extremely important. I would recommend, regardless of whether you play on campaign or as a sandbox, Invest in Hogs early game. Now, there are several places that you can pick them up, including your starting area in the main campaign mode. You do start with 1,000 dinars, which is a generous enough pot for you to get going. You can acquire these Hogs once you end up at a town. It can be any town. It doesn't have to be the one on screen, but you can go down to your inventory and slaughter those hogs. Then you sell the base materials you get from that being the meat and the hide, separately to the town. Rinse and repeat. Buy as many hogs as you can and rinse and repeat this. Now, this can be repeated all over the continent. It doesn't just have to be here. In general, you will find that hogs at the beginning of the game can be brought for rather cheap. Eventually your price changes are going to change. This isn't going to be viable, but at the beginning of the game, most certainly you can earn a very quick 10,000 dinars. As you can see, I have made it to another city where they are selling hogs rather cheap. This is actually a pretty interesting city. It is far away from your start location, and I am still on my own. I wouldn't recommend you guys march up there on your own, because if you do get attacked by raiders, by looters, it's gonna be a tough fight. But the point is, you can find these hogs all over. You can make a huge investment in them and see some very good returns. So the hog kind of exploit at the beginning of the game is still very much a thing. Use it and enjoy the rewards. Now, my next did you know isn't one anyone is going to want to hear. Trust me, I fully understand. You want to play the game the way you want to play it, and I fully respect that. And I feel like Mountain Blade Bannerlord is one of those games where you absolutely need to be playing it the way you want, regardless of the outcome. Now, when I very first started, I wanted to execute every single prisoner I got. Can I just tell you guys, that is an extremely bad idea. And in fact, it is seldom ever a good idea to execute any lord that you capture in battle. Now, there is actually an option within your game settings when you very first start up your game to enable death of lords during battle. Killing them on the battlefield is the best solution. It's actually also kind of needed. Sometimes you need to change wives, and it is unfortunately a good way of making that happen. Now, I am going to find myself someone to battle against, and we are going to find a lord that we are going to execute. And I'm going to show you exactly why it is a bad idea to execute lords within this game. There we go. We have a lord. He's just had a battle, so he's nice and slow, meaning we can guarantee that we are going to get him. Now, if we look at our character, the monk, he has very minimal enemies. He does have enemies, but really is nothing to talk about. That's just the fact that I've been playing the game for a long time now. I've got a few grievances because, you know what, I'm taking over the map. It is what it is. But yeah, nothing to write home about. But we have just won that war, and of course we have got that all-important hostage. Now let's have a little look-see at what happens when we execute him. Scroll down all the way to the bottom into the prisoners. And there we go. We are going to execute him, and just like that, we have inherited a ton more enemies. Now, on screen, you have got the role of all of the negative relations that is now impacting our game because we killed that lord. Now, whether we like it or not, every single lord within this game is connected to somebody. They have family, they have a clan, and you executing them is not a good way to make good impressions upon, you know, their friends and their family. Now, we have found ourselves a second Lord to execute now. I did say don't do it, but something I wanted to also mention is when you hold down A on execute him, you can actually, I think that's X as well. It's A on Xbox and X on PlayStation. If you hold down that button, you will see the negative relations of everybody that is going to be impacted when you execute them. And right at the end there, it does say a plus list. There is more than just that list. So like I said, executing people is just never a good idea. I think the only time I actually find it to be a good idea is when I'm trying to be a tournament leader and it happens to be one or two guys that are just always ahead of me, and they're ahead of me by like 20 or so tournament wins. I typically go ahead and execute them then. But as you can see, our enemies list has now doubled in size, and it will only get bigger and bigger the more people we execute. You can also get some pretty nasty traits from executing as well. Did you know that you can now retire in the game at any time you want? Yes, that's right. You can either end your game and see all your stats, or simply pass your current clan over to your heir. Now, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, because heirs and children and that kind of life cycle is very, very important within Bannerlord. However, within the latest update, we got the ability to finally choose when we wanted to retire. Beforehand, it had to be on your deathbed. Now, one thing I quite like is the fact that they have added a brand new area. I did show it on the map exactly where you can go to this retreat. But yeah, they've added a brand new area that you can explore. There happens to be another NPC you can have a little chat with, and it is through him that you can decide who your heir and who is going to take over your clan. Now, this definitely isn't for everybody, and it is kind of a, a late or possibly a mid-game thing for you to be doing. But you know what? I'm really glad it's in a game. I'm glad that we get control over when it happens rather than just waiting on my deathbed. And hey, you could have your heir inherit your clan at the worst possible time. At least this way, you actually have your finger on the trigger. And as you can see for us, Monk the Second is now in charge of my clan. That was my choice, and it happened when I wanted to. And if you want someone to actually pass your clan on to, you're going to want to have a family. You're going to want to go get married. You're going to want to have children. And don't forget that your children can have children as well. And all of these things will expand your clan. The bigger your clan, the more powerful you are. So heed my advice, go get married and have children. There is a perk that both yourself and your heirs can have as well within the social that enables you to get pregnant more often, 30% more often actually, or a 30% increased chance of having children. And it's actually one of the first perks that you can get within the social line, within the charm line on social. So yeah, check it out, grab it. It's definitely advisable on every single character that you guys actually use. And while we're on the subject of our clan, did you know that your clan actually has a limit to it? Yes, that's right. You can only have 60 members of your clan before it stops registering new members within your clan. Keep that in mind. I know that a couple of people, both within my Discord, on the Facebook group, they have tried to do a members only run, as in, they're literally only playing with their own clan members, adding no one else in. Eventually, you're going to see that you're going to have rather a small army at 60. Of course, that's going to take you a long time to acquire. This does take into account all of your children, all of your spouses, your family's spouses, and of course any companions that you happen to grab up to. Something I would say as a bonus tip is remember that if you're marrying off your brothers, their spouse, their wife is going to be taken into the fold. In other words, adding to your clan. If you marry off your sister, you or your daughters, you are literally marrying them out of your clan. Now, this is something that I personally found out the hard way. It's something that you may well find out the hard way as well. And you're going to get multiple marriage options for the female members of your family. So watch out for it. Because really the last thing you want to be doing is losing members, especially early game. It can seriously hamper whatever you're trying to do at the time, because when you marry in other words, marry your brothers off or marry your son to somebody and they acquire these spouses, typically those spouses have some extremely high tier loot, which you can then strip off and use as to how you see fit. Did you know that in order to find the best armor in the game, you are going to need to look around a lot of different settlements? Certain armor pieces also will not spawn until you are late into your game, so keep that in mind. Typically, when you are trying to find decent armor pieces, what you are actually looking for is cities with high prosperity. If you find cities with low prosperity, there is a very good chance, although that it doesn't have to always be the case, but there's a very good chance that the armor items within those cities aren't really that good. So in other words, finding those cities with the better prosperity values are going to typically have the better gear. Of course, all that being said, I found all of my gear quite late into my game. It did take an awful lot of hunting. It was very, very expensive, but hopefully this will help cut some time out of your look. Honestly, look around for those cities with the high prosperity and you've got a very good chance of finding slightly better armor pieces. Did you know that the Fane champions, the Britannian Fane champions, happen to be one of the best troops in the game? Not only are they one of the best archers in the game, in my opinion, they are straight up one of the best absolute tankiest troops you can possibly get in the game. They are an archer unit that also can use a two-handed melee weapon, and they are absolutely devastating in combat. If anyone's been following my latest playthrough, they will see that I have pretty much gone the entire playthrough using these Fane champions. I have over 100 of them in my army. They are a tier 6 troop. They do take quite a lot of work and effort in order to level up, and it is kind of a big reason why I would also recommend you guys get a very good surgeon, because of course if you have these Fane champions, you definitely do not want to be losing them. They have a very, very high two-handed melee skill and they have an even higher archery skill. And as I just mentioned, having a good surgeon is absolutely needed in this game. I cannot tell you how many troops and how much money you will save yourself by having a good surgeon, that being you as your party and clan surgeon, or straight up hiring a companion with that role in mind. Having a good surgeon is basically determines how many people end up dying within combat instead of just getting injured. If you have a good surgeon, there's a very good chance that you will keep all of your top tier troops alive through multiple huge battles. If you don't have this surgeon, you will you will crash and burn. You will go through so many troops. My very first playthrough, I went through so many Valandian cavalry because I did not have a good surgeon. I did not value that as a role, and because of this, I had to constantly replace my cavalry. Within this playthrough, I've had to replace very, very little. My next did you know is a little bit of a warning, and certainly for beginners of this game, the main quest line is a little bit of a two-handed blade, because on one side it gives you direction in the game, it enables you to get some pretty good loot, some idea of the mechanics that this game has, and in the other side will plunge you into an all-out war where half of the continent will be at war with you. So put it off as long as possible. This is an end game kind of thing that you want to be doing. You can create a kingdom without handing in that banner, and of course when you do hand in that banner, that is when the war will start. Did you know that the best way to earn money in this game, not the quickest, but the best way to earn money in the game, is actually through smithing? Smithing has some serious advantages to it. However, be warned, for any new players, old players alike know this all too well, smithing is a very long process. However, once you have mastered smithing, you are able to effectively print money. And I do mean print money because you can make hundreds and hundreds of weapons that you can sell for tens of thousands of dinars. Now, the sword that I am making before you will sell roughly for 20,000 dinars. Now, that's quite a lot considering the materials that I'm actually using really aren't that difficult for you to get hold of. Acquiring the smithing level in order to do it is a completely different matter, but seriously, you can make some huge amount of money. I have even sold pole arms for 40,000+ dinars. That's each, by the way, and as I said, we can make hundreds of these at a time. And even if you can't yet make those high tier weapons, just going through the orders, some of which are extremely easy, and of course you do not need to meet the requirements in order to get paid from them, can make you some serious cash, not to mention earn you extra relations with notables in the city. And as for my last did you know, again, this is really for new players. Did you know that you can actually become the king of one of the founding cities of the continent? Yes, that's right. You can join any empire or any kingdom as a vassal, and eventually that king will die, be it through battle, be it through old age. And of course, if you have enough influence within that kingdom, you might just be elected as king of that kingdom. Now, I personally have actually been king of Valandia in this very playthrough. It didn't work out for me in Valandia, so I left them and made my own kingdom. But as you can see, their king, he did die. He died of old age as well. I got voted in, and it is something that can happen, and it's actually rather easy to allow happen. You literally just have to wait out the game. But there we have it, guys. That completes our tips video. That completes our did you know video. Hopefully you guys learned at least one thing. I'm hoping you did. If you did, let me know down in the comments with the one thing you learned. And of course, if you have a tip to share, again, let us know down in the comments. Personally, I cannot wait for the next big update that comes to Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlords on console. We should be getting some console cheats as well as a huge rework with a number of the mechanics within the game. I'm very, very much looking forward to this. And of course, when that update does drop, expect me to be covering it in full on the channel. But until then, I've been a monk, we've been Inquisitive Clueless, and I'll see you in the next video real soon. Until then, take it easy, and as ever, guys, happy gaming.